I am Melody Peters, and I am mom to Isabella.
I'm Isabella Peters, 8th grader, goes to literal school. Yes, I was born deaf, so I have these cochlear implants to help me hear.
What are you doing in the show?
The 12 dancing princesses.
What?
The 12 dancing princesses.
The 12 Dancing Princesses? You're in the 12 Dancing Princesses?
Yeah.
Yes. What are you?
What rabbit?
Are you a princess?
Yes.
You are?
The red rabbit crown. It has long ears.
Wow.
I had red cartoon.
When we were thinking about our journey and how we got here, and here is Isabella in 8th grade, so much has been talked about the early focus, and I really think that is so key that we had such a foundation from preschool with the support and the team from Castle Preschool, then led us to public school. When thinking back, what's been so awesome about this inclusive setting, if there was a problem, the problem was not met with, well, it's a problem, and so we're just going to have to accept that and we'll just lower the bar. The problem came in and we're like, okay, let's try this. And so, when the language wasn't developing as fast enough, we learned cued speech. And what was so powerful to Lou and I is not only he and I would learn it, all of her teachers learned it, at Castle. And then we came to Little River, and there were teachers who learned cued speech. Again, we were closing the gaps, but I was always amazed at that approach from the team, Durham Public Schools, the community, the hearing impaired deaf community from the state. Everybody was like, what is it going to take? What can we do to support this kid getting across the finish line? What does that look like? And so in terms of being inclusive, I think even Lou and I felt from a family perspective, we were included in the educational process. We were not seen as, we know best, we're the teachers, we're the experts. We were seen as, you're the team, you're the team players, we're the coaches, but you are the team. We need you and, your family. But I am grateful for the support that we received, and I think the only way we were able to get that is because of the focus on being inclusive, the inclusive setting, and we ultimately, that's what we want. We want less services, so we're going to see what does that look like. So if we have more now in the beginning to get her across that finish line, ultimately the goal is less service, and that's a good thing and not a bad thing.
Well, I think it's a good idea because then, as my father would like to say, people with different abilities, there's different abilities. I think it's a good idea because then it gives a chance for us to experience, be able to talk with everybody and get along with everybody. Because people out in the world doesn't really know about a lot of people like us, so it gives normal people a chance to learn how to communicate with us. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Sometimes it gets noisy and I can't hear the teacher very well, but I know that my peers know that I'm in class, so sometimes they quiet down when they realize they're too loud. What I like best is that being challenged more with my mind and these classes with my peers, and I get along with everybody. Everybody treats me the same and like everybody else. So yeah, that's what I like.
I think a key to making inclusive practices successful is a strong foundation. I speak particularly from deaf and hard of hearing students, but I think it applies to other students as well. A very strong early intervention, strong parental and family support, strong preschool services so that the child has all that strong foundation and is ready to then go into the school setting with a very strong foundation. At that point, then it depends on whether the child is ready to go on more inclusively or still needs some support to fill in those gaps. And so when we get them into an inclusive setting, we set them up for success. But there's also the matter of equipment support, and especially for a student with hearing loss, improving their auditory access to information in a general education setting is another key component. Making sure that the child has amplification systems, classroom amplification systems that maximize their access in a general education setting is very important to their success in a general education setting. Part of that is the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing that's working with the child in facilitating that use, but more important than that is the educational audiologist that fits the system and sets it up so that you have the appropriate system for that particular child, and you have the appropriate system for the different environments that the child is in. So the kinds of needs the child has in math class might be different from the kinds of needs the child would have in theater class, in how that system is set up. So it's very important for the educational audiologist to look at those different settings and modify the use as appropriate. And then with the other kinds of technology that we have in schools, whether you have smartboard or BrightLink systems or other kinds of technology, we need to ensure that the amplification systems that the children are using are properly connected with those other technology systems. The school that she's at previously was one of our center-based programs for deaf and hard of hearing at the elementary level. We now have the program school in a different school and it's no longer here. But while Isabella was in the lower grades, she spent part of her day in the center-based deaf and hard of hearing classroom and part of her day in the regular education classroom. And when she was in the regular education classroom, she had a good deal of support through a spoken language facilitator to improve her communication skills in that large group setting. And then in the small group setting, she got the support of a speech language pathologist and a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing to fill in those gaps in language skills and prepare her for being successful in a general education setting.
I think the center-based school does offer many advantages to having all the support services in place, and especially the language facilitator, I think for Isabella was huge, following her as she became more confident, as she needed less speech services and less hearing impaired. But it was awesome to have that facilitator there. And again, we've talked about communication. When the facilitator would tell me, I didn't have to say anything to her today. She heard everything. I didn't have to check in with her. So it was cool to see her growth and the facilitator say, like, she's getting it.
And I think a key thing with that spoken language facilitator is we did not set it up as something that was going to continue forever.
Right.
We set it up as something that was to develop her skills and her independence in communication so that she can go on her own and wean her way from that.
And confidence.
Yes.
So much of that is just key to just building that confidence, like, yeah.
I have a weekly communication with her regular education teacher. They will let me know what's going on in the classroom, and we will troubleshoot anything that's going on. She comes to me once a week, and we talk about self-advocacy issues, anything that's going on in the classroom, and also anything that's going on in her life in general. And we try to troubleshoot it and see what we can do to help her. Isabella, who I have to start off with, is one of the top students in her classroom. You know, if you look at any of her scores, she's at the very top. But she does need some support with vocabulary development, especially those higher level words that she may miss, or she may even hear them in the classroom and just skim along, but she really doesn't understand. So it's mostly self-advocacy she works on with me, and vocabulary. Her coming to me has given her the ability to work on her leadership skills. You know, I don't have to ask her so much what she needs, she can tell me what she needs.
And then she also, even just coming to you.
Yes, she has to remember to come to me. I don't come to her, and that teaches her, you know, importance of remembering things when she grows up, like appointments and other obligations she might have.
Teaching them the experience of talking to people like us, and like, don't judge people for people like me, and like my dad said, don't judge a book by its cover, but like when you open up the book, it's the real story. Affect my teachers, maybe they will sometimes have to repeat themselves for us, but they don't mind that because they love us.